Hello everyone, CrystalFissure here. I'm resting my camera on top of a speaker system, hence why that probably sounded really weird, really basic or something like that. That was a track by mind design. Anyway, I'm here in an apartment in Helsinki, still in Finland, and I thought I would do a video talking again, I know, believe it or not, Crash Bandicoot. I know what, talk about oversaturation. Although not really, because really, when I'm over here, this is the easiest thing to film. It's like I don't have my proper rig, you know, all my computer's ready. So I thought I would do a discussion about, kind of similar in the way to when I was talking about like the future of Spyro in 2017. I want to do a video talking about what I think the future of Crash Bandicoot is after the N-Sane Trilogy's release. Because the N-Sane Trilogy's release, there's a few things we're going to have to sort of go over that really gives, sort of frames the arguments I'm going to present. And it sounds like I'm doing like some big essay. I'm literally just doing it off the top of my head. But basically, if you think about it, there's a few things to know. The game is selling really, really well in the pre-sale market, right? Venues are saying that they don't have any more copies left, they're getting more in. Repeated, some Amazon, like a bunch of Amazon stores, like internationally, like I think, like England, the US and more are all like charting as like #1 bestseller in the games category, and some of them are even selling out. So that tells me that there is a lot of hype behind the game, and that's really important for the future, and that's really important for Activision, because above all, Activision want money. And look, I say that like almost like it's a negative. It's not that it's a negative, it's definitely important, it's business, we all know this. You have to sell money, but you have to sell money, that would be interesting. If you want to sell some money to me, Activision, I'll happily take it. But no, what I mean is that you have to sell games, you have to make money, you have to spend money to make money as well. And that's why I'm very excited about the whole ads thing that they've done, the ad campaign for N-Sane Trilogy with the, the classic ads and stuff like that. But anyway, the point is that it looks like the game is going to sell well. And this opens up, I think, a lot of options for where Vicarious Visions and Activision can go for the future of the series. The first thing to bring up, I think, is Crash Team Racing. It seems like everyone wants Crash Team Racing, and I think that if you consider the stuff they've got with online leaderboards with Crash 3, which unfortunately I didn't get to do a full video on, I don't think I will at this point, I'll talk about it when it's out. There's online leaderboards for Crash 3 for the relics, and Crash 1 and 2, sorry. So that's really, really, like, that adds that whole sort of competitive nature to the game. It actually gives the game a bit more longevity, artificial longevity, in that people want to keep getting best times, keep beating other people and stuff like that. And we will see some, I think now that it's like quantifiable, not like doing like speed runs where like you have to capture the time yourself, actually being able to now get exact time. I mean, you can get exact times, but get exact times and have it like sort of immortalized within the game's code, I guess. That is really important, I think, for people wanting to just constantly get better and better and better. So with that in mind, you have to think about online on CTR. I think that is simply the biggest reason why I think people want it, apart from the fact that it is probably the best kart racer of all time, I think, alongside Speed Freaks. I think that Speed Freaks and CTR are the two best kart races I've ever played. And I have played Mario Kart and stuff like that. I have played those games. Mario Kart 64 is, now this could alienate a lot of fans, woefully overrated. Like, compared to CTR, it simply is just not as good. It is not as good. Maybe they've got the whole level design thing, they've got like classic levels and stuff like that, no doubt. The levels are cool, all that, the characters are classic, you know, we all remember them. But honestly, I prefer Diddy Kong Racing. Anyway, point is, CTR seems to be the next one that people want. And I'm split on that, because I would very much like to see Crash Team Racing redone for the whole online aspect. But I wouldn't want to see it done as just a one-for-one remake with the same tracks. If they were going to do a CTR, I would want it to be basically double the game. Because one, I guess they've already got used to the fact that you get 3 games in one with Crash, with the N-Sane Trilogy. But 2, I think that like racing games sort of, they do have a longevity to them as well, like, you know, getting best times and best laps and stuff like that. But then there's also, I think that also people want to explore more themes. I mean, like, you know, you could do the whole like Portal going back and, you know, actually having like racetrack versions of some of the, you know, Crash 3 levels, because notice how they're absent because, you know, you go back in time. You could somehow write that in there. You could have tracks on Oxide's planet. You know what I mean? You could really expand the lore and the canon and just make the game more of an inclusive, big AAA release, because I think by itself, unfortunately, I think it would be a little bit bare. I think you'd have to, because it is like a remaster in many ways, you have to essentially market it at a much lower price point as well. Even though that's such bullshit, because back in the day it would cost like $100, but that's just the way the gaming industry has gone. But if I'm honest, if I have to pick between CTR and a new Vicarious Visions Crash game, I would pick the new Vicarious Visions Crash game. If only because, now bear in mind I haven't played the N-Sane Trilogy, I could play it and it could be complete garbage, but it's probably not going to be. I want to see what ideas Vicarious Visions have on their own game while still being in the now classic series. Like, essentially, this is like a reboot of the classic series. You've got people talking about how they want remasters of N-Sanity and Wrath of Cortex, and while in theory you could argue you could do that, they simply weren't as popular as the first three to really justify it. I think that they have to move on from that canon and create their own new canon. We have a new canon, I guess, with the modifications to the story, how Coco can now time travel back. You could have implications from that. You could, and I also want to do a separate video about this, but with Wrath of Cortex and Twinsanity, now on the Crash Bandicoot subreddit, I know they get a lot of hate, especially Wrath of Cortex, but I feel like there's some elements to that game that are really good. So, you know, like this snowboard's a cool idea, but what I think is the best feature of Wrath of Cortex is the fact that they have levels that only have sections of vehicles. So what I mean by that is that in Crash 3, when you do a vehicle level, you just flat out do a vehicle level, that's it. Whether you're flying, whether you're you know, on the jet ski or something like that. But that's, to me, probably half of that is because of restrictions at the time and stuff like that. But then again, Crash 2, you know, had the jet ski sections. Wrath of Cortex really was able to make you know, more interactive levels by that concept, and that's what I want to see if they were to do you know, a Crash 4 by Vicarious Visions. I want to see ideas where, you know, let's say you're on the jet ski, right? You're on the jet ski and that's all great, and then, you know, you get to that cave, that Cortex cave, then you hop off the jet ski and then you keep running. That's what I want to see, because that's cool. Think about it, that's fun, that's different. It's different to the, you know, the normal game. It's more immersive. It feels like you're more going on an adventure in the level, and that's what I think Crash 3. That's one of the reasons why Crash 3 isn't my favorite, because the vehicles were just, it was just too much. It was just vehicle. Whereas if they had vehicle and then platformer again, that really would have helped. So in terms of what they could do for a new game, I think flat out that if the game sells well, they will be able to probably do both CTR and a new game. And maybe they even do that. It depends on what the development time is for CTR. But that's the other thing, is that CTR is incredibly difficult to actually probably emulate that system that they absolutely perfected in terms of the boosting and the way it controls. CNK, Crash Nitro Kart, tried, that was by Vicarious Visions. They tried, and they did a decent job. I'd say probably 80% as good, but not quite. And that's another thing, actually. They would have those assets, so I would almost, if you're talking about CTR, you could almost merge CTR and CNK and use some tracks from that or something like that. You could, yeah, I mean, I don't know, there's some concepts that could potentially work with Crash Nitro Kart as well, and even Crash Tag Team Racing. I would love to actually see, yeah, like Tag Team, all of the racing games at Crash, put it this simply, the first 3 racing games are iPhone mobile games. The first 3 Crash racing games all had really great elements, and you could almost merge the 3 of them and create this just super mega game where it's like there's platforming, there's, you know, different, tracks. There's like multiple, 40 plus tracks or something like that. There's like more different levels, something like that. You really could do that. But back to the idea of a new game. I think that, again, with characters, a lot of people didn't like crunch, but you could effectively use crunch. You could create your own villains, but you could use N-Trance. You've got to remember that Vicarious Visions also did the huge adventure N-Trance as well, and so that's another thing that they've got ideas. They've got cool concepts and stuff like that, and those games were very much like, like Rapid Cortex in terms of it was just essentially a warped clone with different things. But you know what? That's cool. I mean, the thing is, you can modernize Crash in a way that Twinsanity did without making it exactly like Twinsanity, like some weird Crash Cortex game. But you could lift concepts from that and innovate without alienating. I think that's the key, to innovate without alienating, because that's what I think was the problem with Crash of the Titans and Mind of Mutant, is that they did some innovations. They tried some cool ideas like the jacking on and jacking off the enemies, but it just didn't feel the same. It didn't feel like Crash, kind of like Legend of Spyro didn't feel like classic Spyro at all. And I guess maybe that's not the point, but they paid for it in declining sales and critical success in reviews. So that was the payoff. They took a game that didn't work. Vicarious Visions, I think they have a lot to work with. They have the past. They're basically able to see what was wrong about the series, what people did right, elements of things they did right, like bits of Twinsanity, bits of Rapid Cortex, even bits of the Titans and stuff like that. There were some cool levels in those games. They've got the original designs. There's absolutely no need now to change the existing designs. They now have those models. They don't need to change them. They can just dress them up in different costumes now. There will be no more redesigns. If Vicarious Visions, does get the reins to the series, that would be it. We've now got our definitive Cortex. We don't go from console to console watching him evolve and look like some weirdo now. We're now in the final form of Crash and stuff like that, and yet, again, you can wear jackets and stuff like that, like he wears the motorcycle jacket. You can have, like, maybe you could have different sort of things to wear and stuff like that if you really want that customization, if you want that coolness factor. But a bit like Ratchet and Clank, you have the different armor and stuff like that. So you can do that. You can still use modern elements of gameplay with like skins and stuff like that, which was like with Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter and stuff. You can still do that, but you can still keep the core mechanics and core appearance the same. So they've got so much to work with, and I think that they pretty much have a review floor of like at least 6 in using the original sort of stuff like that, like they've got now. So there's a lot of potential what they could do. I guess what we probably now need to ask is, what do you guys think about it? What do you think that the future of the series is? Do you think that there is a future in which Vicarious Visions continues to do more games? Or do you think that this whole discussion is useless and there's actually, once they've done the N-Sane Trilogy, that's it? I don't think so. I really don't think that's going to be the case. But I think it's definitely up for discussion. I think there's a lot of things they can do. I think that me having not sat down for like an hour and actually figured it out properly is probably making this video very rambling. But I think that keeping it in the style of Crash 1, 2, 3 with innovations and new things, and maybe even a bigger hub world. I think that's the one thing that I think that a lot of people seem to agree on this, is that you could have elements of open world gameplay, kind of like Spyro, where it's like you have a home world and each home world has different sort of warp portals. You could do that kind of a bit like how they have that with Crash Bandicoot Racing, and that could sort of half satisfy the people that actually want to see modern techniques in a classic style Crash. You could have bigger, longer levels. You could have levels that merge vehicles and platforming. So that's definitely the smartest idea. Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be back very soon with more, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. I definitely want to hear what you have to say, because I think there's a lot of stuff ideas that this is more like, this is a blank canvas, if you will. I've given you some ideas. Now it's you guys' turn to go wild with some suggestions and stuff like that, and I'll read them all, get back, see what you guys think, tell you what I think of your ideas and stuff like that. I think we can have a good discussion and stuff like that. So thank you guys for the continued support, and I'll be back very, very soon with more videos, not just N-Sane. When I get back, all the Let's Plays will continue, Spire is going to continue, and yeah, it's going to be very exciting. See you later.